After SpongeBob dragged us into his twisted world, it felt like we were the only ones left, stranded in a nightmare nobody else could possibly understand. There was no sign of any Bikini Bottom citizens, not even a whisper of their presence. Just Markiplier, coryxkenshin, luigikid, my girlfriend Rachel, and me, Brandon, apparently the one everyone looked to for answers, even though I barely had any myself. We wandered aimlessly through this dark, abandoned version of Bikini Bottom, every step heavy with dread. All we wanted was for SpongeBob to finally end this nightmare, once and for all. The sky above us was blood red, thick clouds swirling and shifting into the shapes of monstrous eyeballs, always watching, always tracking our every move, making us feel like prey. Every building looked wrong, twisted into nightmarish shapes, like huge tentacles writhing up into the sky. The doors gaped open, more like mouths than anything else, lined with rows of razor-sharp teeth. It was as if the town itself wanted to devour us. Rachel only had to take one look before her face paled and she muttered,
"Holy shit, this place is a nightmare."
Cory just nodded, his expression dark and focused.
We have to find SpongeBob and finish this now,
he said, his voice steely with determination that barely hid his fear. Then, slicing through the silence, Markiplier's voice echoed out of nowhere, deep, demonic, and dripping with cruel laughter.
I think I know where he is!
His words seemed to chill the air. Luigikid shot him a nervous glance, his voice trembling as he asked,
Mark, why are you still in Markiplier mode?
Like he was afraid Mark might lose control at any second. Without another word, Markiplier led us to the Krusty Krab. The sight that greeted us made us freeze in our tracks. Lining the path were millions of heads on pikes, stretching into the distance until they disappeared into the haze. Some were cartoon characters, their faces twisted in agony. Others looked like real kids, staring blankly with lifeless eyes. The doors to the Krusty Krab creaked open, slow and menacing. Out stepped SpongeBob, Squidward, Patrick, Sandy, Mr. Krabs, and Plankton in a hulking, armored robot suit. Then, more shapes emerged from the shadows behind us. Danny Phantom, Angelica from Rugrats, Billy and Mandy with the Grim Reaper, Aang the Avatar, and even Jeffy from SML, who I was sure we'd already killed once before.
Welcome to the end!
SpongeBob croaked, his voice more twisted and broken than anything I'd ever heard. It was like he was speaking through shattered glass. Rachel lost all composure. She pointed at the endless field of heads and screamed,
You, sick fuck, what did you do to all these people?
Her eyes were wild, overflowing with horror and rage. SpongeBob just grinned, his teeth stained and jagged.
Oh, where's your little redhead friend?
He taunted. He knew Ash was dead. We'd lost her back at that abandoned government facility,
Brandon,
where
help
she
me.
gave her life wiping out most of SpongeBob's cartoon army. I saw Rachel break in that instant, her grief morphing into pure, unfiltered rage. She charged at SpongeBob, screaming. I lunged after her, desperate to stop her, but I was too slow. SpongeBob's attack was monstrous, catastrophic. He struck her with such force Rachel exploded into a grotesque mess of blood and guts. Her scream cut off in an instant. I just stared, numb. My girlfriend was gone, my anchor in this insanity, wiped out before I could do anything. My forced smile vanished. I was furious, angrier than I'd ever been, my entire body trembling with barely restrained wrath. The ground shook under me as I hurled myself at SpongeBob, the impact blasting a hole sending debris flying. Chaos erupted around us, the battle devolving into a brutal, surreal free-for-all. Cory clashed with Danny Phantom, slashing his katana right through Danny's ghostly form, but the blade passed through harmlessly. Danny just smirked, taunting Cory with every missed strike. Markiplier faced off against Jeffy, hurling him through buildings with supernatural force.
Telling you'll be easy!
He sneered, his voice a razor's edge. Jeffy, insulted and wild-eyed, charged at him with a flurry of blows, but Markiplier dodged each punch with lazy precision, barely breaking a sweat. He seemed to be toying with Jeffy, pushing him until, with one final twist, Jeffy's eyes literally popped out and he crumpled to the ground, brain oozing out in a sickening puddle. Meanwhile, Luigikid squared off with Angelica. She barreled toward him, shrieking.
Hope you're ready to die!
But Luigikid was faster, springing over her head with ease. Angelica lost it, swinging her fists wildly and hurling Barbie dolls from her pockets like some deranged toy factory gone rogue. Luigikid caught one midair, tore its head off with his teeth, and glared at her, his eyes blazing. Angelica froze in terror. She tried to recover, throwing a tantrum so loud the sound made Luigikid's ears bleed, but he didn't falter. He leapt into the air, landed squarely atop her, and flattened her in an instant, silencing her cries forever. Out of nowhere, SpongeBob's fist crashed into me, sending me flying through a row of decaying buildings. I crashed to a stop at Aang's feet. I barely had time to catch my breath before Aang unleashed a storm, tossing me around like a ragdoll. He blasted holes through my body with airbending, slammed me into crumbling walls, and left me a bloody, broken mess, barely clinging to consciousness. Through the haze, I saw Luigikid's head burst apart, brains spraying everywhere, as Squidward's clarinet emitted a banshee wail. Then, in a flash, Plankton's robot unleashed a torrent of fire, incinerating Markiplier into ash. Cory fought with everything he had, slicing through Billy, Mandy, and Grim, but Sandy came from behind and cleaved him clean in half, spilling guts across the ground.
As this can't be. No, not everyone.
I screamed, my voice echoing in the emptiness. My heart shattered, but something else surged into its place. A force so powerful I thought it might tear me apart. My vision swam red with rage. I grabbed Aang and slammed his head into the ground so hard it exploded, blood and bones splattering my hands. I launched myself into the fray, barreling through Patrick's stomach with unstoppable force.
Patrick, you absolute idiot!
Squidward rolled his eyes, looking down at Patrick's corpse with that same deadpan tone.
Can't you do anything right?
The nightmare wasn't over, but I realized something as I stood, bloodied and shaking. If this was truly the end, I would make sure SpongeBob regretted every second he spent in this world he twisted beyond all recognition. I shot over to Squidward, fast as lightning, moving with a speed even I didn't think possible. The sheer shock on his face was almost comical. He barely had time to blink before I jammed my fingers into his eyes. There was a sickening pop, and Squidward let out a gurgled scream, stumbling backward as I pressed forward. I didn't stop there. With ruthless efficiency, I gripped his tongue, yanking it free in a single, brutal motion. All he could do was groan, clutching at his ruined face as agony overtook him. For a split second, I almost felt bad, but there was no room for hesitation now.
Oh snap!
Sandy blurted out, her voice cracking with fear as she saw me barreling toward her, bloodied and relentless. She tried to pull off her signature flying tornado kick, spinning through the air with acrobatic precision, but it didn't do a damn thing. My body didn't even register the blow. Her foot glanced off me harmlessly. She swung at me a second time, desperation written across her face, but this time her arm just snapped off, tearing away like it was nothing more than a toy.
No, this can't be!
She cried, her voice trembling with disbelief and horror. Before she could even process what was happening, I tore her apart, piece by piece, until nothing remained but a bloody stain where she'd stood. The taste of victory was bitter, but necessary. Then, my attention snapped to Plankton, who had retreated into his colossal robot, hoping its steel armor could save him. I didn't hesitate. I blasted the robot with a concentrated burst of ki, the energy crackling in my palms before exploding outward. The blast was so intense it shattered the machine instantly, blowing Plankton and his contraption to pieces in a blinding flash. There was no time to savor the triumph. The chaos only escalated. Mr. Krabs tried to make a run for it, scuttling away as fast as his stubby legs could carry him. But SpongeBob was faster. He reached out and grabbed Mr. Krabs, who began begging for his life, his voice shrill and panicked.
No, please! I won't run anymore!
He pleaded, trying to wriggle free. SpongeBob just shrugged coldly, his eyes devoid of mercy.
No room for cowards in my army!
He replied matter-of-factly. Then, with a single swallow, he gulped Mr. Krabs down whole, as if he were just another Krabby Patty.
All right, now for the main event!
SpongeBob declared, his voice echoing with a chilling finality. Suddenly, the grisly scene intensified. All the heads on pikes, remnants of those who'd fallen before, began to sing, laugh, and cry in a cacophony of twisted, cursed sounds. Their voices clashed and harmonized in a nightmarish symphony that made my skin crawl, the melody reverberating through the ruined streets of Bikini Bottom. SpongeBob let out a wild, unhinged laugh, his whole body shuddering with manic energy. He pulled his arm back and, with a single punch, smashed me so hard I flew straight out of the ocean, rocketing through the sky until I crash-landed on the freaking moon. The impact cratered the lunar surface, dust and rocks spraying in all directions.
Oh,
I muttered in shock, staggering to my feet. The desolate expanse of the moon stretched out around me, silent and cold. But I wasn't finished yet. Summoning every ounce of power left in me, I jumped off the moon with such force that the entire thing exploded behind me, shattering into debris and plunging Bikini Bottom below into utter darkness. As the fragments rained down, I shot back toward Earth, zeroing in on SpongeBob. I crashed into him at full speed, the force of the collision sending him flying through the walls of the crusty craft, which crumbled to rubble under the impact. For a moment I thought I had the upper hand, but SpongeBob scrambled back up undeterred. He slammed his thumb down so hard it started gushing blood, and then he began to transform, growing taller, broader, more monstrous. His yellow sponge body twisted and warped, ballooning into a giant, grotesque titan, like something ripped straight out of Attack on Titan. The very ground shook beneath his feet. He charged at me in his new monstrous form, smashing me through building after building, each one collapsing in my way. My mind went blank from the pain. I couldn't breathe. My ribs felt shattered, my whole body reduced to jelly. The world blurred around me, and for the first time, I truly thought,
no way. After everything, I can't die here.
But then, just as despair threatened to swallow me, something incredible happened. All my friends appeared, back from wherever they'd vanished to. Ash was there, looking as shocked as I felt.
Did I do that?
I muttered, staring at my hands in disbelief, wondering if my powers had brought them back. SpongeBob stumbled back, eyes wide with fury and fear.
No! Impossible! How do you have this much power?
He demanded, his voice cracking. I grinned, hope flaring inside me.
YouTubers, assemble.
I shouted, rallying my friends to my side for the true final battle. One by one, they joined me, faces determined, powers at the ready. SpongeBob powered up even more, his monstrous form practically buzzing with uncontainable energy and confidence.
No one can stop me now!
He declared with a cruel smile. We just looked at each other, and despite everything, the blood, the pain, the chaos, we all started laughing. The bond between us was unbreakable. My powers had united us again. I could feel it in my bones. There was no way he could beat us now, no matter what new tricks he tried to pull. But SpongeBob wasn't done yet. With a scream, he began to warp reality itself. Colors twisted and melted, the ground rippled like water, and the sky fractured into impossible patterns. He hit me again, so hard that I flew through different cartoon worlds. One moment racing past the Looney Tunes, the next careening through the Technicolor landscape of Adventure Time. I tried to teleport behind him, but SpongeBob sensed my move, spinning and knocking me back to Bikini Bottom with another reality-bending punch. Rachel sprinted up to me, her face pale but determined.
Where were you? Are you okay?
She asked, helping me to my feet. I gasped for breath, feeling the weight of exhaustion in every bone.
He's unstoppable,
I said, my voice trembling with the realization that we'd finally hit a wall. Then, in a flash, SpongeBob grabbed my friends one by one and hurled them into portals, flinging them into different worlds, scattering us like leaves in a storm.
Where the fuck did you send my friends?
I roared, rage boiling in my veins. SpongeBob just grinned, a cruel, twisted smile.
You'll be with them soon, except you'll be dead!
He cackled, the threat ringing in my ears. The fight felt endless. He tossed me around like a rag doll, slamming me through buildings and across shattered streets. I was dead tired, coughing up blood, my clothes soaked in it. My bones were broken in more places than I could count, I had to physically hold my insides together, feeling them threaten to spill out with every movement.
What's wrong? Giving up already?
He sneered. I spat blood in response, forcing a grin.
Hell no, I'm just getting started.
I growled through gritted teeth. But as I tried to stand, he kicked me through yet another building, debris collapsing around me. For a moment, I was sure he'd finish me off right there, turn me to dust, and be done with it. But then, salvation came. A barrage of ki blasts rained down on SpongeBob from all directions. My friends had made it back. They'd survived whatever hell he'd banished them to, and now they were here, fighting at my side again.
Oh God, Brandon, you're a mess.
Rachel said, rushing to my side. Cory hacked at SpongeBob relentlessly, slicing off arms that regenerated almost instantly. Markiplier unleashed torrents of energy, blasting holes clean through SpongeBob's monstrous body. Ash fired round after round of ki, each blast shaking the world.
You guys are fucking awesome.
I managed to say, still coughing up blood, but feeling hope rising once more.
Hang in there, Brandon.
Rachel urged.
Almost done. We're actually going to kill him.
Ash shouted, determination blazing in her eyes. But SpongeBob was full of surprises. Out of nowhere, he spun into a massive tornado, the force of it sending them flying. They crashed down next to Rachel and me, winded but alive.
If I can kill you, I'll destroy the whole world with you still in it!
SpongeBob screamed, his laughter devolving into the shriek of a true man. The sky darkened, the ground split, and reality itself seemed to tremble under his power. Luigikid looked at me, fear etched deep in his eyes.
What now?
He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The stakes were higher than ever. If we didn't act, we'd all die here, trapped in his nightmare world. I forced myself upright, even though my legs shook and my vision blurred.
I've got one more trick.
I said, hope flickering in my chest like a dying ember.
I'm gonna send him somewhere so hot, so bone dry, he'll finally know why he's afraid of imagination.
The plan was risky, but it was all we had left. With everything on the line, I charged straight into the heart of the raging storm.
If I just picture the place, I can open the portal.
I muttered to myself, focusing all my power, all my will on the image forming in my mind. My friends' voices echoed around me, urging me on as I prepared for the final, desperate move. The fate of everything rested on this one last shot.
It worked,
I said, staring in disbelief as this massive portal door opened right in front of me, swirling with energy.
Alright guys, now.
I yelled urgency in my voice. All of us rushed forward, throwing everything we had into one massive, combined blast. The force of it was overwhelming, the air crackling with power as it slammed into SpongeBob, knocking him straight through the portal.
No!
SpongeBob screamed, his voice echoing as he tumbled helplessly into the whirling void, reaching out in vain. The portal snapped shut behind him with a thunderous clap, leaving only silence in its wake. That was it. SpongeBob was trapped, sealed away in that strange, distant world for good. The threat was finally gone.
It's finally over.
I muttered, the tension draining from my body all at once. My legs buckled and I just collapsed right there. Rachel hurried over, worry in her eyes, and scooped me up gently. She carried me out of the TV world, her arms steady and warm, and brought me home, away from all the madness. She tucked me in, smoothing the blanket over me with a tenderness that made my heart ache.
Good night, my little hero.
She whispered, her voice soft with pride and relief. Cory let out this half laugh, still catching his breath.
Well, that was, quite the experience.
He said, glancing around at the others as if trying to make sense of it all. Ash shook her head, a rueful grin on her face.
Yeah, I still can't believe a dumb fairy killed me. Missed the first half of the fight, too. Guess I'll never live that one down.
Brandon's something else.
Luigikid said, shooting me a grin.
He literally saved us from death itself. If it hadn't been for him, we'd be stuck in cartoon limbo right now.
Markiplier smirked, his eyes glinting with mischief as his voice dropped low and a bit creepy.
If it were me, I'd have taken out SpongeBob without a scratch. Would have made it look easy.
Luigikid shot back, not missing a beat.
Dude, you literally died to a robot. Maybe don't throw stones in a glass house.
Rachel glanced around at everyone, her expression fond but firm.
Alright, Brandon needs rest. And honestly, so do I. We've all had enough excitement for a lifetime.
People started murmuring their goodbyes, voices soft with exhaustion and relief. One by one, they trickled out of the house, leaving behind the lingering sense of camaraderie and hard-won peace. Rachel turned back to me as I lay there, heavy-lidded and ready to drift off. She noticed my wounds, which just hours ago had been raw and angry, nearly healed already.
Incredible.
She whispered to herself, a mix of awe and gratitude in her eyes. She slid into bed beside me, barely making a sound, and within seconds she was asleep, her breathing deep and even. I woke up the next morning feeling better than I had in years. The aches and pains were gone, replaced by a calm energy I hadn't felt in ages. Sunlight streamed through the window, and for once, everything seemed right.
You're up early.
Rachel said, smiling as she brushed a stray hair from her face. A few months went by in a blur. No more haunted cartoons, no more wild, life-or-death adventures. The house was peaceful, laughter echoing through the halls instead of screams. For the first time in a long while, everything was quiet. We were safe. I found myself wondering, almost nervously, if the universe might have one more twist in store for us. But for now, I let myself relax, savoring the calm. I mean, what else could possibly happen to us?
What happened?
SpongeBob growled, his voice low and strange, echoing slightly in the sterile, unfamiliar room. The doctor looked up from a clipboard, grinning with unsettling enthusiasm.
Hey, you're finally awake. We weren't sure you'd make it.
SpongeBob shivered, his entire body aching as if he'd been scorched from the inside out.
Where am I?
He managed, dread crawling up his spine.
You're safe. You're in a secret government facility.
The doctor replied, still wearing that unnerving smile, eyes glinting with something unreadable. The room was filled with the steady beep of machines and the faint hum of fluorescent lights overhead. SpongeBob could feel the burns all over his spongy body, every nerve ending throbbing with pain, but he wasn't about to give up. He tried to rest, to focus on his breathing, but his mind raced. Suddenly, he noticed a monitor blinking nearby, its screen casting an unnatural glow across the room. The words on the display sent a huge grin on his evil spongy face. Demon Lord Resurrection 99% complete. The message pulsed ominously.
It's time!